89th session of the United Nations Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination against Women in Geneva, Dr. Hala bint Mazyed Al-Tuwaijri, the head of Saudi Arabia's Human Rights Commission, announced that the country has introduced over 50 new reforms to boost women's rights. As part of his Vision 2030 plan under the leadership of King Salman and the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, wide-range reforms have been announced. These include changes to travel documents and civil status systems that ensure gender equality, updates to the social insurance system which set the retirement age at 60 for both men and women, and far-reaching improvements in women's rights in education, healthcare and protection. The country has also seen considerable reforms in its legal system with changes to the labour law to ensure equal rights and duties for men and women in the workplace, and an anti-harassment law. In March 2022, the Saudi government implemented reforms to the personal status law as well. Let's take a look at the Vision 2030 development plan. It stands on 3 pillars: the creation of a vibrant society, a thriving economy, and an ambitious nation. It plans to reduce the country's dependence on oil through diversification of economy and reform its public sector. This has a direct bearing on the nation's stand on gender equality programs. While all 3 pillars of the vision have specific goals, there is a focus on improvement in women's circumstances in Saudi society, economy, and governance. Under the vision, women's participation in social development is enabled, gender-segregated measures are lifted, and female entrepreneurship is being encouraged. Increasing the contribution of women in the labour force from 22% to 30% is a declared objective of the 2030 vision. Saudi women can now start their own businesses without the consent of a husband or male relative. In 2017, a royal decree made the guardianship system obsolete and made it so that Saudi women no longer needed permission to receive state services, including police services, nor are husbands allowed to impose obedience on their wives any longer. Such actions, on the other hand, are now grounds for dissolution of marriages. In 2018, the country also entered the world's only ban on women drivers, which also enhances mobility of female workers. In a significant stride for Saudi women, Princess Rima bint Bandar became Saudi Arabia's first female ambassador in 2019 to the US. This paved the way for 4 other women being appointed as ambassadors since then, to EU and the European Atomic Energy Committee, Sweden, Iceland, Finland, and Norway. The Saudi government has also launched several programs, including the Qiyadat Women's Leadership Program, the Qurra program to support childcare services for working women, and the Loan Guarantee and Regulation Program by the Monsat, the General Authority of Small and Medium Enterprises. Undoubtedly, Saudi Arabia has come along since it first announced the National Development Plan in April 2016. According to the World Economic Forum Global Gender Gap Report 2024, female labour force participation in Saudi Arabia has nearly doubled over time, from 22.5% in 2006 to 43.2% in 2024. While Saudi Arabia was 138th out of 144 countries in the report in 2017, it has climbed up to 126th position in 2024. Surprisingly, India is behind Saudi Arabia at 129th position. The country has also improved its rankings for economic participation and opportunity, education and political empowerment, as well as its regional standing. While the fact that the UN's Commission on the Status of Women unanimously appointed Saudi Arabia to chair its 69th session in 2025 is clearly symbolic of a global nod to the consistent improvement, keeping in mind the historical and cultural subordination of the gender in the country. Saudi Arabia still has a long way to go before it begins to catch up the global averages. More importantly, the country's Personal Status Law, PSL, continues to codify male guardianship over women. This means a pervasive male influence throughout a woman's life. Perhaps equally important is the absence of credit to women rights activists for reforms like the lifting of ban on driving, as well as the fact that the government continues to arbitrarily detain and impose bans on many of them. For instance, in 2023, Saudi Arabia's specialized criminal court sentenced academic Salma al-Shahab to 27 years in prison, followed by a travel ban on the same duration. Saudi Arabia must ensure that its efforts for women empowerment are sincere, wholesome, and not merely politically motivated, and an exercise in global branding. Bureau Report, India Today Global.